Hi everyone, it's V from Mingle Co. Today we have an author, writer and artist. Her name is Hayley Frazer. Hi Hayley.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm pretty okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you here. I met you this year in, what event was it? The women's event. I think it was September.
Yeah,
I met
I'm not
you and
very
your
good
mum.
with months. I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, a V was nice.
You came to the event and I
Yeah.
know you were nervous.
Yeah.
How were you how were you feeling that day or before you came? I always want to know how you guys are feeling before you come.
I guess I wasn't sure what would happen because, events can be like 50-50 what they're going to be like. Because some people really like an event. Some people maybe don't have the same feeling, but they can still be a good event.
Yeah.
And I was a bit worried, but I got there and it was very nice. It was very relaxing. I was like, oh, with the name tags and stuff. And then we went into the area and you had it lovely. It was lovely
Oh,
set
that's
up.
good.
You had like typewriter, fairy
That
lights.
was cute. Yeah.
Little glasses. It was really nice. It was just relaxed and I kind of settled in. Still a bit nervous because you want to make a good impression. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. So this is how me and Hayley and I met. And so tell us a bit about how you became an author, writer and artist, because you've been doing this for a few years now.
Yeah. I guess it has times where like things are really busy and then it settles down. I'm like, oh, years.
Yeah.
But how did it start out? I guess I always really liked drawing.
Do you remember when you started drawing or having that interest?
I don't know if I was super interested in it, like when I was younger, but as I got like older, I was like, oh, this is my jam. I remember being at my granny and pop's house and I would be drawing these like lolly dinosaurs and I don't know why that stuck with me, but like I was like, I'm gonna make this one with like lollies and it was very intriguing to me. But I didn't know if I liked writing, but kind of I also felt like I grew more into it. But then when I went to my fourth and final school after a school that maybe wasn't as suited to me as it could have been, which is fine. You find schools like that all the time.
Can you tell me why it wasn't suited for you? What?
They made a few promises about things that probably could have been easy changes, but then they wanted to put me into a math stream that you wouldn't be able to do certain uni degrees.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it was kind of like, oh, well, you got to do this. It was just
Yeah.
kind of a lot of maybe small things that stacked up and it no, I won't say that. But I went to the new school and we had these two relief teachers that were working together. And they were like, okay, we want you guys to create a story with like a moral. And I was like, because it kind of felt like the creativity I had at the other school was locked for a bit. So then I had so much fun. I was drawing the pictures for this book. not the best now that I look back at it. Writing stuff and we put it in like a folder to be this pretend book. And the teacher was pleased with it. I was like, oh, wow, the teacher likes my work. And then I had shown my mentor, Mark Lemesurier, and he was like quiet for a bit. He was looking over it and he's like, I think this could be a real book. And I was like, huh?
Oh, really? Wow.
And Mum was like, yes, I think so as well. And Dad and I were both like, what? But then he gave us a contact of an illustrator that he had been working with for a lot of his books, Lauren Eldridge Murray, who's a lovely lady. And then it kind of went from there, and it was kind of really exciting. I think the book that came out of it, Something a Little Different, is my favourite one that I've created so far. It has that oomph, and it's probably because of the experience behind it.
And what's the experience behind it?
Just with the school and kind of feeling like maybe suffocated isn't the right word, but maybe stifled. Like you can't scribble in class even though you're listening. And just like maybe to some people it's like, well, how can you listen? But just kind of with my brain, I think a lot of dyslexic kids' brains, it's easier to do something while listening. Otherwise, you're so focused on trying to listen, you start imagining stuff.
Yeah.
But then and I love the way that Lauren like added extra like pictures into the book with the writing, and it felt really magical.
Yeah. So you wrote the book?
Yeah,
And
I
you
wrote
didn't
it.
illustrate it then?
No,
Okay.
my things were not up to par. But Lauren did a really good job, and it was amazing seeing like her sketches and her finals come back and being like, wow, this is like coming to life. It was just probably because it was my first book as well. Just felt really like, wow.
So it's your baby. It was like, it's your baby. You're
A
always
little
going to
bit
be
of
proud.
baby.
Yeah.
There were some funny things with it as well. But yeah.
So how many books have you written up to date?
I've written 2, and there's an activity book.
Yeah.
So sometimes we say 3, but it's not really 3 books.
And you've illustrated those ones as well? No.
I'm illustrating the one that I'm working on now. But
And what's the one that you're working on now?
well, that's
What's that one called?
the magical tram.
Okay. Who inspired you, or what? How did you get to write that book? What happened? What inspired you to go, I'm gonna write this?
Well,
Tell me.
funny
Tell us.
you ask me. My pop, my paternal pop, he lives near us. My other one lived like a state away, I think. I get a bit confused with the states. I'm like, yeah, they lived a while away. But he would always tell me stories. It was really cute. My granny also used to tell me stories, but more about myself. Like, oh, remember when you... But hearing Pop stories, he would like talk about these things, and he would say them really well. And then after I forgot what it's called, the book reveal of See the Kindness, someone had asked me if I was going to do another book, and I kind of decided a little bit before, like I was going to do one about my pop. Hopefully not ripping off his stories, but doing it in a way that kind of like includes it. It kind of gives him showed like physical thing like pop. But he's just also a really kind and lovely person. Like I you know when you just like meet someone, you're like, oh, that's what I get with like thankfully like with a lot of my family members. But I kind of want to do with my pop, because I felt like he used to be a tram conductor. He also worked at the Moscow Circus briefly. He did so many things. And I was like, oh, I really want to try and capture that. But yeah, that was a bit of a long-winded explanation.
No, that's all right.
But yeah.
And what's that book called?
Oh, it's called The Magical Tram.
The Magical Tram. And what have you done? Is that what your events are about now?
We're doing Clem's Quest next year.
Let's talk about Clem's Quest.
Clem's Quest.
Tell us about Clem's Quest.
Okay. So we're doing an event focused around this mystery of another story with my pop. I don't know if this is spoilery, I hope not. But it was basically revolving around the story when the signal box took him the wrong way, that he got in a bit of trouble. But it's kind of like a fantasy magical spin. It's like, oh, what if someone purposely did it for him to appear here with the magical tram? And it kind of focuses around that. It's got like little fingerprint cutouts for people to find, try to put all the clues together.
So is this for neurodivergent children?
Yeah.
Is it aimed at neurodivergent children?
Yeah, I guess it could be aimed at anyone, but maybe more of a focus on neurodivergent children.
What's the aim for children to work together?
Yeah, to work together, maybe to just have something to do in a safe environment as well, and be like, oh, well, like, I can do this even if there's something stopping me, not tooting my own horn, but like if this person is able to do something that perhaps I would like to do, maybe I can do it as well, even though I have the same barriers. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And thank you.
I love that.
Oh.
All right, Hayley, so tell me about this. If people want to go to this event, or at least the first two events, because this is done by the Tidjara Gully Council. You've got their support.
And I got your support.
Yes, yes. And so when is the event?
It's on the 14th and the 17th of January this year at 1 p.m.
It's at the gallery.
I think Gallery 1855.
Yeah, that's in Tidjara Gully.
Yeah, it's
Council.
a little quaint place. It's very nice.
And how many children, do you know, if there's a big group, small group?
We're trying to keep it small because we're still not testing it out, but it's kind of the first time that I've done something like this. It should be a group of 10 or less kids for each group.
And it's only $5. So if parents want to bring their children to do other neurodivergent children work together, bond, and it's only $5. So it's a good event to take your kids. It's cheap because you'll be spending money on the school holidays. So because you do, they all want to go somewhere, or be entertained. Okay, so tell me about what you're doing at the moment, like, because I know you're studying. You're at uni.
Yes, maybe I shouldn't reveal what I'm doing. It's already been revealed online. I'm like, no, Dad, don't do it.
Oh no.
But I'm doing basically a Bachelor of Creative Arts. I'm very grateful to be doing something that I really enjoy, even though it can be tough at times, of course, because you're trying to grow your skills and be like, why aren't I doing this right? But I'm very fortunate to be able to go there. It's a lovely place that kind of focuses more on digital art, like animation and character design, and storyboarding, which are like my three kind of yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And how do you see your future?
Oh, it's a bit of an existential question.
After you finish uni, where would you like to go? What would you like to do?
I would like to work in maybe the animation industry, or like somewhere in the artistic pipeline, like character design or storyboarding, or like, this might be too big of a thing, make my own studio, or have small indie projects that I upload to maybe YouTube or something. There's a few like stories, maybe not kids' books, but more creative stories that I'd like to tell. So maybe a mix of that in the future. Yeah.
That's your dream, and that's where your passion lies.
Yeah.
Do you have a good support network?
I am extremely fortunate. I have a fantastic support network. I don't know how well I would have gone without like my mum and my dad and mentors throughout my life. Like when I was younger, I had a hernia for like 2.5 years. I was like screaming for a long time. And my mum, like, some people might say like, oh well, she's meant to do that, but it still means a lot. Like, she would always stay with me and look after me. She'd have like micro sleeps, and she'd never get like mad at me. She just wanted to figure out what the problem was. And she'd go to doctors, and doctors would be like, oh, it's behavioural. I don't think they scream all the time if it's behavioural. But, and then my dad, like, super supportive of me. Very lovely with all his silly jokes.
Dad jokes.
Yeah. And I've been really grateful to have like lovely grandparents, and like even when things have gone rocky with like more private things, like we've all kind of looked after each other.
Yeah.
Each other. And I'm really grateful that we've been able to, like, when there have been schools or places that maybe aren't very good for me or making me kind of wither a little bit in flower terms, we're able to go to a different school and test that one out, because I know not everyone's able to do that.
Have you been to different schools? How many schools?
I've been to 4 schools.
4 schools. This was like all up? Like, or just high school?
All up. Thankfully, not too many in high
school.
school.
Still a lot anyway.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like the first one maybe not so great, but still had like supportive people there. Like a lovely teacher I had there in year 1 that kind of realised maybe I have like dyslexia. And then a really good school. And then and then a really good school again. But a good school can be different for everyone. It would be good if one size did fit all, but that's just not how we are as people.
If someone is struggling, what advice would you give them that's in your same sort of situation or not? Because you've had ups and downs like everyone else, but for a neurodivergent individual that has that talent but needs support, what advice would you give them? Or a younger version of you?
A younger version of me. I remember when I was specifically in year 3 and I just couldn't figure out any math worksheets. In year 2 I'd been put in the corner and left a drawer, which might have been very good for my creativity but not so good for my education. But I remember thinking, this isn't advice, this is more leading into it, but I guess I'm just not as smart as other people, but at least mum and dad will look after me.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's like really sweet, but also like kind of really sad. Like, I'm never going to succeed, but at least, and obviously it's not true. I guess we can't measure success, but I've gone a lot further than I thought. Year 3 me ever thought I was going to do. It's like, just going to stay at home then.
But that also says that you were very loved.
Yeah,
and you are loved.
I'm like really grateful that my family was never like, why haven't you gotten this grade or this or this? They were like, just try, try your best, and that's okay. But for a person struggling, it can feel really isolating, especially when you're around people that aren't struggling.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this really is me. Is there something wrong with me? Am I stupid? And no, you're not stupid. I don't think anyone's stupid. I think it's just the way that we absorb and kind of give information that people are like, but I don't know, because it's a really like specific for each person kind of question.
Everyone's different.
But like it's kind of cliche, but like don't give up. Don't fall into that hopelessness or despair, because it's going to be like so much harder to try and like get yourself out of it. If you just have in your head, it's going to eventually be okay. I'm going to eventually be able to do something that I excel at. And then keep trying to look for what you excel at. If you don't know maybe what your gift is, like keep trying different things out. Like some people like do really well in radio, some people do really well with logic-based things, like all kind of things. Like you do very well in a lot of things. Like talking on like this podcast.
I'm terrible.
No, don't say that. Don't listen to me. But try and find what you excel at and maybe try to be the best at that. Not that like in a competition sort of way, but in the way like,
be your best.
Look at that. And people will be like, shoot. No, I'm not 100% sure with this advice. I think I'd probably later be like, I should have said something else. But
I think that's good advice because it was as well, you know, it was a bit of everything, but I thought, yeah, that could help someone.
Oh, and maybe if you're a bit older, to surround yourself with supportive people. Maybe if you don't have that at home, try to find like friends or a community that will
Mentors.
encourage you.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentors, they've really helped me.
Yeah.
But if you do have people that support you, be like maybe really grateful for that, because it's easy when something's going like wrong and it feels really big, and it could be really big, to forget all the like really wonderful people or things or anything that you have in your life. I find that even with like mental health, you're just like, oh, this feels like suffocating, and then it kind of blinds you a bit. Not in the way of being like, you're not grateful for what you have. Like, these things are really big, but being like, I'm loved, I'm cared for, or maybe there are people out there that will care for me and will love me. I'm not unlovable, or whatever my mind's trying to tell me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry, a bit of a ramble.
No, I love that. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a rambler.
No, that's fine. So Hayley, if anyone wants to know more about you, what you do, where do they go?
Well, you could go to the secret orb, or don't. There's my website, hayleyfrazer.com.au, which is pretty easy to remember.
Yep. Hayley Frazer. Don't forget her name. And what about Instagram? Where can they find you?
Yes, it's Hayley Frazer Creative for Instagram, and then for Facebook, it's Hayley Frazer 19. So
Hayley Frazer 19.
I think on the website, I think it's pretty all in there. You'll be able to find it. I got like an email if you want to send an email or anything. PO box if you want to send me an orb to contact me better.
Yeah.
Don't do that. My jokes are so lame.
No, that's okay. We love your lame jokes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to thank you for coming, Hayley.
Thank
and
you.
also, actually, let's ask you, why did you agree to do this interview?
Well, you're a lovely person.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, like, you're really welcoming, and like meeting you first time, you like trying to include everyone, and you were not trying, you were succeeding. But then I get quite nervous with things like this. I get even more nervous with speaking to people live. But maybe if I'm able to help at least one person, then all of the work and maybe the not big struggles, but the small struggles with like doing this would be all worth it. Like, if someone feels a bit better, or someone's like, you know what, I can succeed, I'm not stupid, I'm not anything what other people may be telling me, what my head may be telling me, then that would be really good. It's really hard because I remember like being like, oh man, why me? Why am I like the one that's not getting it? And then you find out later, you're like, that makes sense. But yeah, maybe just to say like, it is okay.
Yeah.
Because I guess there's like people like, well, Einstein, or like, what's that guy that has a plane industry?
Oh, the Virgin guy.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure they had dyslexia, and then it feels like a bit unattainable because they're like so high up. But maybe I would be able, like, not tooting my own horn, be like, yes, I'm helping many people. But maybe if I can, then that'll be like
It's
the
worth
reason
it.
for everything. Yeah.
Awesome, I loved it. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you, V.
This is Hayley Frazer. So remember where to find her, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Yeah.
This was very fun. You don't know what we got up to. All right, thank you. I don't know why I said thank you. I said thank you to you before.
Well, we can say thank you to...
No, don't worry, don't worry.